So that is my message to you today. Open your minds to the magic within your grasp. For every child could understand, the letters from the first were planned to lead us into fairyland. So labour at your alphabet, for by their learning shall you get places where fairies may be met. And going where this pathway goes, you too, at last, may find, who knows, the garden of the singing rose. I hope you enjoy your magical afternoon.
Blues, please follow me.
My friends, the ballad of the bookworm. Far in the past I peer, and see a child on the nursery floor, a child with books upon his knee, who asks, like Oliver, for more. The number of his years is 4, and yet in letters hath he skill. How deep he dives in fairy lore. The books I love them still. One gift the fairies gave me, free they commonly bestowed of yore. The love of books, the golden key that opens the enchanted door. Behind it, Bluebeard lurks, and o'er doth Jack his giants kill. And there is all Aladdin's store. The books I love them still. Take all, but leave my books to me. These heavy creels of old we bore, we fill not now, nor wander free. Nor wear the heart that once we wore. Not now each river seems to pour his waters from the Muses' hill. Though something's gone from stream and shore, the books I love them still. Fate, that art queen, by shore and sea, we bow submissive to thy will. Oh, grant, by some benign degree, the books I loved, to love them still. And now, let us surprise you with a very unique version of the tale of the Princess and the Pea.
sleep well. The princess said, did I have something in my brain, maybe black and blue? I slept awake the whole night through. Then you for sure, 'cause the mother princess gets so sore. Unless it's been late. I got a princess, a proper princess. Cause nothing but a real one will do. I got a princess, a proper princess. A princess whose blood is true blue.
Always things about food. Just because the grown-ups are having a party and they don't want us there.
And I'm not missing their supper. They've been eating and drinking all day. Even now the men are drinking brandy in the parlour.
I think Uncle Pete had a bit too much brandy already. Falling asleep at the table.
Did you see how much he ate beforehand? Could not stop myself from watching, and my mom said it was rude to stare.
Pay attention when adults addressing you.
Don't answer back. Don't smirk.
Don't laugh. Don't giggle.
Really?
Sometimes I think adults should heed to their own advice. Did you see Aunt Margaret at dinner? She may not have been falling asleep like Uncle Peter, but she was becoming careless.
I believe it was gravy with a few dribbles of wine mixed in.
Yuck. She almost wastes food.
But it never spoils the floor.
I have not.
Her chest, silly, it sticks right out. Goodness knows what she finds at night time when she removes her dress.
And she's always tossing out and spinning about us and weird.
They're all so pompous when they drink. They teach us lessons about love and forgiveness. But when they start drinking wine, they say rude things about our neighbours, ridiculing their voices, their mannerisms, their clothes.
Did you see his nice clothes? So and when we laugh at their fun, they'll say it as if we're being rude.
And I tried to explain to them that we're only sharing their fun. But Aunt Clara says children should be seen, not heard. I was only telling the truth. They didn't want to listen.
Why is it that adults aren't always like the truth?
This scene does not look like children preparing for sleep. I've been sent to put you to bed, for it seems you displeased your parents and relatives. If this is truth, then I am disappointed. Have I not always tried to instill in you standards of appropriate behaviour?
We've been discussing the truth. Telling the truth is the right thing to do, isn't it, Jane?
Of course it is.
But not to Aunt Margaret.
Of course, you must never tell lies, but sometimes the truth can lead to trouble. People don't always like to hear the truth. Now, I am going to tell you a story before we go to bed. Your interest in telling the truth has reminded me of a certain story I'd like to tell you. You can help me if you like, using the dressing up there. Where to begin? Firstly, we need an emperor. He was very handsome, but also very vain and a little bit stupid. He loved choosing and trying on and admiring new clothes. Everywhere in his castle, he had rooms just for clothes, and all over there were mirrors for him to admire himself. Bisset, what a gorgeous hat. It suits you so well.
Those velvet breeches are simply stunning. They fit you perfectly.
Lace and colours taking roots. No, very what exquisite embroidery, fit for an emperor indeed.
But the emperor could never be sure if people were telling him the truth. Perhaps they're very stupid, you think, and they don't know what they're talking about. How can I be sure if they're clever or stupid? Now one day, 2 charlatans came to town.
Two what?
2 cheats. They were very accomplished cheats. They could sell anything to anyone.
Ice for Eskimos. Sand to the Bedouins of the Sahara.
The Eiffel Tower to the people of Paris.
How do you do it?
The trick is to appeal to people's vanity, and the emperor was very vain. They found out that he loved trying on new clothes, so they told him that they were weavers, and that they could weave in the most delightful fabric ever seen.
Damask and embroidered cloth with gold and silver threads.
Reds, blues, and greens of every hue, with pearls and jewels to enhance the magnificence of the cloth.
They also found out that the emperor was very insecure, so they told him that their cloth was so special that it would remain invisible to anyone who was either stupid or unfit to remain in the emperor's service. Finally, the emperor thought, not only shall I have special new clothes, but I shall be able to tell whether those around me are clever or stupid. And so, the charlatans were given workings in the castle and set to work. They worked the looms, but there was no thread there, and no cloth at all. One by one, the emperor sent his servants to go and check on the progress of the new clothes. Afraid they would be seen as unfit to serve their master, they came back with fabulous descriptions of the cloth they'd seen.
Wonderful. Gorgeous.
Next, the royal tailor was sent to see the magnificent cloth. But when he got there, he couldn't see a thing. The weavers were sat at the looms, but there was no cloth to be seen. However, he did not want to be seen as unworthy for his position, so he said,
Oh, what a beautiful cloth. How do you achieve such bloody colours? How does it make exploit him?
Finally, the emperor sent his chief minister, a harmless old fellow. But when he got there, he too was shocked to see that there was no cloth on the looms. But he feared being seen as too old and useless to serve his master, so he said,
Wonderful, wonderful. Everyone will adore this fabric. I shall tell him of its beauty. The size and texture of this beauty made me feel 50 years younger as a child experiencing beauty for the first time.
the emperor was pleased by the descriptions he heard and was happy to have such valuable and trustworthy servants. Finally, he went to go see the cloth for himself.
Stupendous! This cloth is certainly fit for an emperor. I have never seen such wonder before. Now, I instruct you to turn the cloth into garments of similar magnificence.
The cheating weavers readily agreed to the emperor's demands. And soon the day came which had been set aside for the emperor to try on his new clothes. with a great procession, he went to the workshop of the weavers. Firstly, he took off all the clothes he was wearing. The procession looked away. It would not do to see the emperor without his clothes on. But when they turned round, the emperor, in his birthday suit, is exactly what they did see. No, they didn't, for they believed the charlatans, and feared they'd be banished from court forever if they couldn't see the cloth. And it was obvious to everyone that the emperor could see the fabulous fabrics and colours described by the charlatans. Nothing would do but that the emperor and the whole procession should go out and parade his new clothes through the streets of the city. First came the emperor, naked as the day he was born, and then followed the court. All the people started and stared, but they didn't say anything, for they do believe the charlatans, and did not want to seem unworthy of their emperor, all except for one little child.
Where did the men bring on?
And this cry was taken up by the people, for the child spoke the truth, and they all saw it for the truth at last.
Where did the men bring on?
And the emperor learnt his lesson?
No, I'm afraid he didn't. You see, he was exceedingly vain and very stupid. Now, as you know, this is true of many adults. No, he carried on through the streets of the city, completely naked, and all the honest children and adults looked away, saying nothing but giggling inside. And the charlatans moved on to the next country, their heads full of pride and their pockets full of money. And so, I'm afraid the useful moral of this story is that, in the adult world, it is often the liars and cheats who win. You have to learn to be alert for cheats and charlatans. As children, we have to tell the truth, but as you've learned today, does not always bring satisfaction consequences. Part of growing up is learning when it is right to tell the truth, and when lips should be kept shut. And now it is time for bed. Put all your best dark clothes back in the chest. You may choose a book to read for a while. Good night, children.
Good night, Jane.
Good night.
Night.
Boys and girls, if you would like to follow me, we're going out to the door and bearing to our right.
We're like all together.
When I did find you again, I thought it was way spent. I didn't think
I'd quite like some wings on. Do you think Josh will come out here because he's bigger? No, sorry, I think he's like hidden behind a tree or something. That'd be amazing. Alright, I'll find a good place to stand. Yeah, that's a good idea actually. Quite a big one.
Stand in front of this person here if you like. I'll keep coming in. In the middle. There's plenty of space over in the corner over there if anyone would like to go.
We are fairies. We live in this beautiful garden. It is so beautiful because it belongs to the most beautiful person in the world. Look at the flowers, the trees, the fountains and the fish ponds. This is the realm of the flower fairy. The most kind and charming of all fairies. The flower fairy is loved by all who meet her, especially the princes and princesses who attend her, and are as happy as the day is long simply because they are near her. She is kind, caring and gentle. But this is a story, and like all stories, things don't stay the same. Things change, sometimes happily, sometimes sadly. Watch and listen as we discover whether Princess Sylvia is to be happy or sad.
Here is Princess Sylvia. As you are aware, princes and princesses come to me when they are quite tiny. They learn about beauty and remain until they are 12 years old. You have almost reached that age, and the time is coming when you must leave this place and face your future in the wider world.
But I'm so happy here with you.
That pleases me. But you are now growing up. You're not a child any longer. If my work has been done well, then you will have a happy life and bring joy to those around you. Now, as you know, upon leaving this magic garden, I bestow on each prince and princess a fairy gift to help them in the world. To help you in this choice, I would like you to visit some of the princesses that have grown up and left this magic garden. You will travel in my chariot drawn by beautiful butterflies, and when you return, you will tell me how well they have fared in the world with the gift that they chose.
Princess Sylvia is unwilling to go away, but as the flower fairy wishes it, she says nothing, steps onto the carriage, and is transported to a realm far away. And in the blink of a fairy eye, her time at the court of Princess Iris is done, and she joyfully returns to the enchanted garden. The flower fairy is delighted to see her.
My child, tell me of the impressions you received from Princess Iris and the gift that I bestowed on her.
When she left this magical place, Princess Iris chose the gift of beauty. When I arrived at her court, I was amazed by her loveliness. But soon I thought that she had no other gifts or graces. She seemed to think that just by being beautiful, she was doing all that was expected of her, and that everyone would be dazzled before her. But while I was there, the princess became ill. She recovered her health, but has lost all her beauty. She is now ugly and disfigured. She hates the sight of herself and is in despair. Her beauty is gone, and it has been so long since she used her mind or her cleverness that she no longer has those gifts. She is shunned by all and hides herself away in a tall tower. She begs you in all pity to give her beauty back to her.
Alas, I cannot help her. My gifts can only be given once.
Poor Princess Iris. Oh, I weep for her.
You have a kind heart.
Happiness reigns over the garden once more, but it is not long before the flower fairy has another errand for dear Princess Sylvia.
I wish you to visit the court of Princess Cynthia, and as before, when you return, you will tell me how well she has used her gift to improve the world around her.
Just as before, dear Sylvia is sad to leave the court of the flower fairy, but would never do anything to sadden her. She mounts the butterfly carriage and is transported to a foreign palace. And in the blink of a fairy eye, her time is done, and she returns to the land of her dreams.
My child, tell me of the impressions you received from Princess Cynthia and the gift that I bestowed on her. She was always the most delightful of princesses.
You gave her the gift of friendship, and when I first arrived at her court, I thought she must be the happiest princess in the world. She had 1,000 friends and admirers who all tried to outdo each other in their efforts to please her and attract her attention. Indeed, I almost decided that I would ask for a similar gift. But the longer I stayed, the more I saw that Cynthia was not really happy. In her desire to please everyone, she stopped being sincere and became superficial and silly. She flirted with all the princes and flattered all the princesses, and after a time they all felt that her charms and fascinations, which were exercised upon everyone who approached her, were valueless. In the end, they ceased to care for her and left in disdain. The princess is not alone, as she always has new courtiers enthralled by her friendship, but no one can stand her falsehood for long, and she has no long-term companions. In her desire to please, she pleases no one, and is both lonely and sad.
It's sad that gifts intended to create joy and happiness have instead created sadness and pain, but that was her choice and cannot be changed. Have you altered your mind about the gift of pleasing?
I would never wish for a gift that creates such unhappiness.
I'm pleased with you, child. Enjoy yourself here for a while. Presently, you should go on your third and final visit.
Once again, Princess Sylvia fills her days with joy and happiness. summons the dear princess?
I desire to know how the Princess Philida has fared in the world with the gift that I bestowed on her. When you return, it will be time to choose the fairy gift that you would like.
For the third time, Princess Sylvia sadly entered the butterfly carriage and was transported to a new land. And another blink of a fairy eye, and she returns for the last time to her childhood world.
My dear child, Princess Philida was always a most entertaining little girl. Tell me how she's fared in the world with the gift that I bestowed on her.
I reached her court safely, and she received me most kindly. You bestowed on her the gift of wit, and immediately she started to say some of the cleverest and most amusing lines I had ever heard. I was entranced, and for a week I thought that nothing could be more desirable. The time passed like magic, so great was the charm of her company and the cleverness of her words. But I soon stopped wanting the gift of wit, even more than any of the other gifts I'd seen, for, like the gift of pleasing, it cannot really give satisfaction. I soon wearied of what had so delighted me at first, especially as I learned that it is impossible to always be smart and amusing, without often being tedious and trivial. Indeed, it reveals an ill nature that turns all things, even those that are serious and sad and need to be treated with care and kindness, into a mere occasion for a brilliant but cruel jest. People turn away in disgust as sharp wit echoes around an empty room.
It saddens me that gifts given with love and kindness do such a force for ill. But she chose her gift, and she shall live with her sharp wit until the end of her days. And now the time has come to choose your fairy gift. Fairies attend.
A fairy circle is formed. In the middle stand the flower fairy and Princess Sylvia.
Dear Princess Sylvia, you are the sweetest and most delightful of princesses. As you leave the warmth and protection of childhood, I will bestow upon you a gift that you believe will be of great use to you and all those around you. A gift that will enhance the world for you. Now, in front of my fairies, inform us what this gift shall be.
There is a silence as Princess Sylvia thinks about the choice she must make. She thinks about the gifts of beauty, pleasing and wit, and the sadness and pain that these gifts have caused the other princesses and those around them. She decides that these superficial gifts that seem attractive at first lose their appeal. She decides that she does not want to be trapped by making the wrong choice. She decides,
I desire the gift of a quiet spirit.
You have chosen well. The gift is yours. This gift is a constant happiness to its possessor and all those that come into contact with her. She has all the beauty of gentleness and contentment in her sweet face. If at times this face seems less lovely due to some grief or sadness, the worst words one will ever hear said are,
Sylvia's dear face is pale today. It is sad to see her so.
But when she is happy and joyful, then wonderful words can be heard.
The sunshine of her presence rejoices all who have the happiness of being near her.
And now, before you leave this land for final time, join us for a fairy dance.
Little pony.
Why do you still dress that? It's just all green.
difference between a fairy and a witch? Nothing much. We are both magical creatures, and you can have good and bad fairies just as you can have good and bad witches. But for some reason, a bad fairy does not sound as bad as a good witch, because the word witch is always associated with bad deeds, and fairies are associated with good. I am a fairy. Over there is a witch. But she is not all bad. Once she was a kind, magical creature, but there came a time when she did a deed that tarnished her reputation for a long time. This is the tale of how that came to pass. It is the tale of Puddicky.
Let's turn the clock back many years and tell a tale that might bring tears of sadness, joy, it all depends on how this wondrous story ends. A kindly soul with heart of gold I was when this tale starts to unfold. My cottage sweet, my garden fair, my pride and joy. Look, it's there. Flowers and herbs in great abundance grew in my plot with no disturbance. I had no favourite, loved them both. I tended all the fragrant growth. Now, by my cottage, right next door, there lived a woman, a widow poor. She had a child, a gorgeous girl, and it is her tale that we will unfurl. This child had one peculiar trait. Her diet, parsley, was all she ate. One day her poor mother in despair said,
"We've none left, but I see some there."
When darkness fell, this woman crept into my garden while she thought I slept. She pulled great bunches and made her flight. The same thing happened night after night. But I had been watching all this time. From my window I had seen the crime. In the plot that had been verdant green, brown earthen patches could now be seen. To confront my neighbour I resolved, and from that choice has evolved events that once set underway have lasted until the present day. But today is now, and that was then. So let's return to that time when I hadn't uttered my dreadful curse or been condemned to speak in verse. Neighbour, you have stolen parsley from my garden. Have I not always been good and kind to you? Pray tell me, what is the reason for this deed?
Dear neighbour, I am so sorry. I did not think you would notice. My dear daughter only eats parsley, and I had none to give her. I admit that I stole from your garden, but I meant no offence. What I did for the benefit of my child.
If I were a wicked witch, then I would now cast an evil spell over you both and cackle with delight. But I am not that person. I am kind at heart. My greatest sadness, however, is that I've never had children. And as I grow older, I feel that loss more and more. I would not be lonely. I have a proposal for you. Let your child come and live with me. I will raise her as if she were my own. I will love her and care for her, and she will learn to love me and care for me. And she can have as much parsley as she desires. In fact, from this day, let that be her name. She will call me Mother, and I will call her Parsley.
The mother was sad at the prospect of losing her child, but happy that she would be loved and have parsley to eat every day. She agreed to the witch's proposal, and the little girl, now known as Parsley, went to live with the witch. Her first mother watched from next door as the years passed happily, and Parsley grew into the most beautiful, sweet-natured young woman in the world.
Oh, how happy I am to see the beauty of my child. Surely there will come a time when a handsome prince will notice her, be smitten by her goodness and marry her, her life complete, and then I will be the happiest woman in the world.
It saddens me to observe the beauty of my child. Surely there will come a time when a handsome prince will notice her, become smitten by her goodness and marry her. Then she'll be gone from my life and will care for me no longer. I will be the loneliest woman in the world. I cannot let this happen.
And from that day on, the witch kept Parsley locked in the cottage.
The girl was sad that she could not go out into the pretty garden, and even the parsley was collected by the witch and brought into her. But although sad, she still loved her second mother, because she wasn't cruel. Indeed, having taken the gift of the outdoors away from her child, the witch did everything she could to shower the girl with love and affection. This could have been the end of the story, but as chance would have it, there came a day when 3 princes came riding by.
Whoa.
Passing by the witch's cottage, they heard the most beautiful voice.
My skin is pale as snow, so white, for I am banished from the light of the sun, so soft, so real. Its warm embrace I cannot feel.
The princes looked round for the source of this wondrous sound, but saw no one. Still, the song tormented them.
My skin is soft as a summer breeze that gently plays amongst the trees, as I played once in days of yore, the days when I could go outdoors.
The 3 princes were entranced by what they heard. They looked at the cottage.
My skin is smooth as a frozen lake. How I long that I could take some steps outside and so begin to feel the seasons on my skin.
Be quiet, child. There are people outside.
The witch rushed to close the shutters. Too late. At that very moment, the 3 princes looked up, and behind the old woman saw the most wondrous sight. A young girl with the most radiant beauty imaginable.
What a beautiful creature!
An angel sent from on high.
I am smitten with desire.
I am bewitched by her beauty.
I am in love.
I will take her as my wife.
I will keep her as the most precious of my treasures.
I will try to win her hand.
Hardly had the princes expressed their desire, longing, and love, then mad with jealousy, they drew their swords, and all 3 set about each other. The witch saw it all and was full of anger.
It is parsley that's the cause of all this rage. Her beauty will bring princes moth-like to my door, and she will be gone from me. This cannot be.
And full of wrath, the witch uttered a fateful spell.
Your beauty now becomes a curse. The more it grows, the worse and worse becomes my raging, jealous fear. You're banished to a land far from here. From now a pond all stagnant green will be the place that you are seen, but not a beauty. Your looks be gone, and be atoned from this day on.
What on earth are we doing?
I can't imagine.
I think... I can't remember.
How silly.
How impetuous.
Some memory stirs within me.
Let us go home at once.
Forget this ever happened.
There is something I want to remember.
You have lost your daughter and will never see her again. You will be as sad as she, for never will her beauty or happiness light up your days.
Oh, what have I done? I have lost my only joy. I would that I could undo that spell.
That cannot be. But there might be one small hope. A spell cannot be undone, but it can be altered by another. I told you maid, and so will stay, but there might be hope. Hear what I say. If a prince a loving kiss should make, upon her lips a spell will break. And as for you, you ancient crones, for your ugly words you must atone. For the whole duration of your curse, you are condemned to speak in verse.
With my spell, alas, alack, I made a rod to strike my back. I'll go inside and daily pray that your faint hope will save the day, that her grace and beauty can be unfurled once more upon the human world. For me, I'll hide and spend my time cringing from my awful right.
Time passed. Eventually, the king was getting old. He wished to pass his kingdom onto one of his 3 sons, but he didn't know which of the princes was most worthy, so decided to set them 3 tasks as a test.
My sons, listen to the first of your tasks. You must bring me a length of silk, so fine it can pass through a golden ring. He that succeeds will be closest to my heart, and my throne.
The princes set out on their quest. Eventually, they came to the place where 3 roads met. 2 of the roads were bright and sunny and led to towns where the finest weavers could be found. The first 2 princes chose these roads for their journey. The 3rd road was dark and lonely. The 3rd prince travelled along this dreary path. And after many days, he had seen no living soul, nor found any sign of a weaver's cottage. Coming to a stagnant pond, he sank down in despair.
Oh, me! Oh, my! What is the matter with you, my dear prince? There is not much point in my telling you, Puddock, for you couldn't help me even if I did. Do not be too sure of that. Tell me your trouble, and we'll see. Some memory stirs within me. I feel bound to tell this Puddock my woes.
The prince became most confidential and told the little creature why he had been sent from his father's kingdom.
Prince, I will certainly help you. Wait a while. Take this home with you, and you'll see it can help you. I am not convinced, and yet there is some memory. I thank you, Puddock, and must be on my way.
The prince returned to the court of his father. Just at the same time as his 2 brothers, who came bearing great bales of cloth.
My dear princes, I am delighted that you have returned home, bearing, I hope, the finest of silk cloths. Let us not delay, and let the trial begin. Your cloth has to pass through a golden ring.
Where's the ring?
How is it?
Oh, dear.
This is the ring.
Oh, dear.
So small.
Maybe.
Let the test begin! My son, you have passed the first test. I will use your silk for the most beautiful garments. As for the rest of it, let it be taken to the town and given to those who could never afford such rich, if bulky cloth. My sons, prepare yourselves for the second test. You must bring me a beautiful dog that can comfortably sleep in a shell of my choice. He that succeeds will be closest to my heart and my throne.
For a second time, the princes set out on their quest.
Whoa.
Again, the first 2 princes chose the brightest roads for their journeys. The 3rd road was dark and lonely as before. The 3rd prince travelled along this dreary path. And after many days, he had seen no living soul nor canine friend. Returning to the stagnant pond, he sank down in despair.
Oh, me! Oh, my! What is wrong with you now, my dear prince?
This time, the prince did not hesitate. Having thanked the Puddock for her gift of silk, he told her of the new task.
Prince, I will help you. Wait a while. Take this nut home with you, and tell your father to crack it carefully, and you'll see what will happen. You've been so kind to me, Puddock, and there is still some memory struggling to make itself seen.
The prince returned to the court of his father. Just at the same time as his 2 brothers, who came bearing some of the sweetest dogs the prince had ever seen.
My dear princes, I am delighted that you have returned home, bearing, I hope, a dog that can sleep in a shell of my choice. Let us not delay, and let the trial begin. Where's the shell?
How big is it?
I wonder.
Here it is.
Oh, dear.
So small.
Maybe.
Let the test begin! My son, you have easily passed the second test. I shall keep your delightful little dog to keep me amused. As for the rest of them, let them be taken to the town and given to those children who would love them for the delightful, if bulky creatures that they are. My sons, the most difficult of the two tasks have been performed. Now listen to your third and last. Whoever returns with the fairest maiden who would be his wife shall be my heir.
Now this is the time.
Now there is trouble, and yet some thought still affects me.
For a third time, the princes set out on their quest.
Whoa!
The third prince once again came to the stagnant pond and sank down in despair.
Oh, me! Oh, my! What is the matter with you now, my prince? Puddock, this task is beyond even your power. Still, you may as well tell me your difficulties, for who knows what I may be able to do.
Having thanked the Puddock for her gift so far, he told her of the new task they had been set to do.
I'll help you right enough, my prince. Wait here a while. Enter this coach, and all will be well.
I will do as you ask, Puddock, through no sense of triumph, but because you have been so kind to me, and there is still some thought that I cannot bring to the forefront of my mind.
In the most unlikely of carriages, with the most unlikely of companions, the prince returned to the court of his father, just at the same time as his two brothers, who came accompanied by some of the most beautiful maidens the prince had ever seen.
My dear princes, I am delighted that you have returned home, accompanied by the most beautiful maidens. My son, you have surprised me on 2 occasions, but even I must say, it would take something truly beyond compare to convince me you will succeed in this final test.
And me.
And me. My prince, have I not served you well in your tasks to date? You have. And do you trust me to serve you well in this, your final test? My head says no, and yet my heart says yes. And what else does your heart say? Puddock, for all the help you've given me, I love you. If you love me, prince, then kiss me. I cannot. Remember, dear prince, remember.
And the prince forgot that he was sitting in a cardboard coach with the Puddock, and went with the memory that was fighting so hard to make itself seen. Out of gratitude and love, he leant over and kissed the Puddock full on her warty lips.
My son, you have passed the 3rd test. And does this maiden truly wish to be your bride?
I do.
And you, her husband?
I do.
Then you will be the successor to my throne. And as for these other maidens, let them go to the town and find those who will love them for who they are, not what they would be. My son, my daughter-in-law, we must celebrate your love and the future of this kingdom.
Out of the kindness of her heart, the Princess Parsley invites both her mother. Her first mother was delighted to see her daughter again, and her second mother was doubly as delighted. Not only was delightful Parsley unchained from the spell, but that first loving kiss had lifted the rhyming curse from the old woman.
I have this to say, in all humility, I've struggled long with rhymeability and guilt and grief, so now I say, I'm absolutely delighted that my absolutely gorgeous daughter has finally found true love. She's a credit to her true mother, to her husband-to-be, to the king, to me, to his...
Shut up! Oh, happy day.
The story of the clever tailor.
Once upon a time, there was a tailor. Woof!
Once upon a time, there were two tailors. Yeah.
Once upon a time, there were 3 tailors.
The first tailor was serious and hard-working. Wolf!
The second tailor, moi, was reliable and hard-working.
The third tailor was good-looking, and he preferred enjoying life to the boredom of hard work.
This land's once upon a time ruled by a good king. Huzzah!
And this good king had a beautiful daughter. The most beautiful young woman in the whole world.
It was exceedingly proud and haughty. Any suitor ventured to present himself to court, they would be given a riddle to guess.
If he failed to answer this riddle, he'd be chased out of town in total disgrace.
Boing, 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 boing.
The princess made a public proclamation.
All comers are welcome to try their skill at solving my riddle. Whoever does shall be my husband.
The proclamation reached the part of the kingdom where the 3 tailors lived.
Surely one who works as hard as I do and has never even dropped a stitch will be able to solve a mere riddle. Ha! I will go to court. Wolf!
I'm sad that one such as myself, who pays such great attention to the detail of his work, can answer the riddle of a princess.
I will go to court. Yeah. It might be entertaining to listen to this riddle. I'm a lucky chap, and perhaps I might stumble upon the answer and marry the princess. Then I would no longer have to toil away as a mere tailor.
Ha! You should just stay at home. You'll never get on in life with your laziness.
Your small allowance for brains.
Small my brain might be, but my mind is set on solving this riddle and becoming a prince. Ha!
Ha! You will be laughed out of court.
Shamed and humiliated.
Exposed as a fool.
Taunted for your stupidity.
But that is the very life that I intend to escape. Ha ha ha!
So the 3 tailors arrived at court. Presented themselves to the princess and begged her to set them with a riddle.
But here I am at last, the right man to solve your riddle. My wits are so fine that you could almost thread a needle with them. Whoa!
And here am I, with wits so sharp, one could stitch the finest gown with them. Yeah.
And I am here to ride my luck and have some fun.
So be it. I have on my head 2 kinds of hair. What color are they?
Ha ha ha! Is that all? Surely they are black and white, like the colors we tailors call pepper and salt. Woof.
Wrong.
Woof?
You will be taken to the city square, where you will be covered in black tar and white feathers.
Well, if it is not black and white, then no doubt it's red and brown, like my father's Sunday coat.
Wrong. You will be dragged through the mud to the city square, where you will be pricked all over with sewing needles, so that your red blood stains the brown of the mud. Now, let the third tailor speak. I see from his face he thinks he knows all about it.
As a princess who is so aware of her beauty and her position, you would not accept anything other than gold and silver. Those are the 2 colors.
The princess went pale and almost fainted away. The answer was quite correct, and she believed no soul would guess the answer, especially not our poor tailor, lowly birth and limited brains.
You have answered correctly.
Uh-huh.
But do not think you have won me yet. Below, in a cage by the stable, there is a bear.
Dun dun dun!
With whom you must spend the night. You will not be fastened to the stocks, but will go in willingly. If, when I get up in the morning, you are still alive, you shall marry me.
Bravely dared is half won.
So the 3 tailors were led away. 2 to be publicly humiliated, and the other to meet his fate with the savage bear, who had never left anyone alive to come and reach his claws.
I'm going to tear you into little pieces and eat you all.
Gently, gently, Mr. Bear. I'll soon teach you to be quiet. See here, I have some fine walnuts. I should like to eat some.
It's you who are nuts. Eat some, and then I'll eat you.
How tasty and succulent these walnuts are. Surely I am the luckiest man alive. Could anyone wish for a better way to spend an evening, an entertaining companion, the finest of foods? How fortunate I am that I brought these walnuts with me, and how considerate of you to wait quietly whilst I eat them.
I can stand it no longer. I must taste those nuts. I say, Mr. Taylor, give me some of your fine walnuts, and I will not kill you until I have devoured them.
How lucky I am that the ground in this cage is covered in pebbles and stones. Mr. Bear, I have some fine walnuts. I surely wish you enjoy them as much as I.
Oh, what a stupid fool I must be. I can't even crack a nut. I say, Mr. Taylor, crack my nuts for me, will you?
You're a strange sort of fellow, aren't you? Fancy having those great jaws of yours and not even being able to crack a walnut. Look how simple it is.
Let me try again. When I see the thing done, it looks so easy. I I fancy I must be able to manage it for myself.
What in the back house?
No, no.
That better ugly, Mummy.
I say, it's fiddling difficult.
Your child's play. See here. Press the strings with the fingers of the left hand. Then with the right, you draw the bow across them. Then it goes as easily as possible. Up and down, tra-la-la.
Oh, I do wish I could play like that. Then I could dance whenever the fancy took me. I say, Mr. Taylor, could you give me some lessons?
With all my heart, if you are sharp about it. But first, let me see your paws. Oh, dear me, your nails are terribly sharp. I must cut them first.
Is that what it takes?
Place your paws in these stalks so that they don't slip and hurt you. Now, just let me get ready with my scissors.
The princess smiled as she heard the sounds. She thought that they were the roars of delight as the bear tormented the tailor.
Pipe down, Mr. Bear. I must get some beauty sleep in preparation for my wedding. Yeah.
In the morning.
What a beautiful morning not to be getting married. Oh, how happy I am. Skip, skip,
Good morning, my wife-to-be.
Wife? No, that can never be.
A public promise is one that must be kept. Bring the stagecoach.
La 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 la
La la la la la la la la la la la la la la la la la Take the happy couple to church. They're to be married at once. As the royal party made their way to church for the joyous occasion, the other two tailors crept into the stable yard. One covered in tar and feathers, the other in mud and dried blood. They were not in the best of humour.
I have been humiliated by that lazy scamp. I will be avenged. Wolf!
Never have I been so sore or so ridiculed. You shall suffer for this.
Never have I been made to feel so small and weak. I will tear that trickster limb from limb.
Uh-oh. Go, Mr. Bear! Run fast and do your worst!
Yes, but worry him slowly. Make him suffer for our shame.
Inside the coach.
Oh no! The fairy's after us! Surely he will catch up and eat us!
I will eat you all!
Faster!
Fear not, my princess. I will not be eaten on my wedding day. Myself and the princess were surprised to see the tailor stand on his head and stick his 2 legs out the window.
Oh, Bear, this is not a carriage. This is a massive set of stocks on wheels. See how it holds my legs? If you do not go home this minute, I will lock you in them tight and never set you free.
No! Not the stocks! Anything but the stocks! Cause of my shame!
And the carriage drove on unmolested to the church, where the tailor and the princess were married. They lived a long, happy life together as they learned to love one another.
Aww.
And although he became a prince, then a king, the princess always referred to her husband as
My clever little tailor.
The end.
My friends, I hope you've enjoyed your journey into my magical fairy world. I hope the tales we've told this afternoon will remain in your memory for many years to come, alongside those who think you'll discover for yourselves. And now, please share with me and my friends the Ballad of Fair Rapunzel.
Flute and steady beat will furnish for your ears a treat the popular and well-known air of the witch-hood prince and Rapunzel fair. The witch is
lover. She hypes up waitress and it's her hair to cover.
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. These are the words that Rapunzel would hear. Crossed out in the desert to wander in fear. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. These are the words that Rapunzel would hear. Crossed out in the desert to wander in fear.
A ladder of silk was to bring me my wife. Rapunzel was coming to start a new life. But the old witch, her mother, laughed in my face. Rapunzel, she mocked, has gone from this place. I fell from the window and put out my sight. I wandered round blindly by day and by night. But true love did win. I heard my love sing. Sweet tears cleared my eyes. The wedding bells ring.